Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. Right in my hands is Isla by Alexis Castellanos. This is a really interesting graphic novel. It's kind of based on a true story, or at least true events, though it's not actual based on a person. So this is about a young girl who is sent to the United States after the Cuban Revolution. And this was something that happened with a project called Operation Peter Pan. Wasn't well known at the time. It was done underground, and the whole concept was to get kids out of Cuba so that they wouldn't wind up being indoctrinated by the Cuban Revolution and Fidel Castro's regime. It was run by, I think, Catholic Charities. The kids were placed in foster homes. And, you know, it's with everything, there's some good out of it and some absolute horrible out of it. Some of the kids were sent to abusive homes. Some kids were sent to juvenile detention centers instead of foster homes. And some kids wound up with great foster families. Like, the idea was to eventually reunite the kids with their actual parents at some point down the road. And I honestly don't know the full history of this to tell you how many kids that actually happened to. But in general, you know, while the concept's good, there's, you know, obviously a lot of problematic things concerning that. So yeah, this is a story about a girl who comes to New York. You know, obviously a very, it's a fish out of water story, a very shocking switch of environments for her. She goes from the warmth of Cuba to freezing cold New York. She doesn't speak the language, she doesn't know the culture, and, you know, it's shocking to her. And what's really interesting is most of the graphic novel is generally silent. We experience it the same way she does. You know, not knowing the language, you know, we don't get the people talking around. She's not really able to communicate with people because she doesn't know English, they don't know Spanish. And, you know, we get to see the world kind of through her eyes in that way. And how eventually, you know, she does learn to interact, or how she does learn about the culture and the world, and in this case, she does wind up with, you know, decent adoptive parents that do want to take care of her. There's moments that it's really touching. You know, as cringy as the overall project was for me, you know, I have a lot of issues of a bunch of white people being the saviors for non-white people. There's a lot of history of that, and a lot of problematic history of that. This does present things in a positive light. The family she's with is very kind to her, and there are some very, very touching moments. And her, I want to say, difficulties, experiences, like, you know, it's the bullying that so many of us can kind of relate to. There's female experiences that I can't say I can relate to as a dude, but many will. She's of that age when, you know, she gets her period and stuff like that, and she doesn't really have anyone she can talk to about that. She doesn't have a language that she can discuss these things with. So you know, it's touching that way. It's a really, really touching thing. And I think the fact that there's so little actual conversations back and forth is really interesting. It helps, it really enhances the story, I think, in interesting ways, and makes it a much more of a ride, an emotional journey. You have to really pay attention to body language and facial expressions, and you know, how people interact and the way they interact. I think it's actually really, really interesting that way, and shows off some of the power of comics and graphic novels, that they can do a storytelling that you can't really get in anything other than maybe movies. And I think even movies would have a different, you know, different sense about it. So, you know, it's something I think it's really interesting, and it's really nice. There's some history in it about the program, some other things to read about people's experiences, some suggestions for other reading materials if you want to learn more about it. Alexis goes into about you know, how this book came about, and the inspiration for it. So it's really, really interesting that way. The art, I think, is you know, key to this, obviously, because it's the art that's really driving the story, and it's solid. Like, it's really good. You know, it touched at my heartstrings multiple times. You know, I think the thing that's really good about it is in the kind of the post write-up about the program and this as a whole, it does reflect on, like, you know, hey, we were willing to do this in the 60s for these kids against a power that we didn't like. But, you know, now there's all these kids coming to this country through immigration. Some will use the word illegal, you know, proper term, undocumented. And we aren't embracing these kids, that we are treating them like crap. We're throwing them in cages, and, you know, kooky how, you know, when we're so dead set against a nation, we are willing to do something like this. But, you know, when it comes to kids actually coming to seek our help, we're not. I think it really puts things in perspective, and, you know, why I'm like not, you know, yeah. It's smart. It's smart. It's really it has a good story to tell, and it's touching. I think that the art is really solid and does the narrative justice. So yeah, I mean, if you want to learn a little about a history, you know, get a kind of there's something cinematic about it. It's a cool graphic novel like that. Get something a little bit different, check it out. It's out in comic shops and bookstores now. You can go get it. We get a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. It'll tell if a comic shop's near you. No shop, no problem. We'll have some links underneath this video where you can purchase your own copy. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage by doing that. You'll support our site, so thank you. And speaking of support, I want to thank Simon & Schuster for hooking us up with a reviewed copy. We appreciate that, and of course, thank you all for watching. If you're into comics, if you're into graphic novels, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, all that graphic policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics, and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.